more and more countries will act based on narrow self-interest and use force or pressure to get their way.
Well, Donald Trump advisor Elon Musk says he hopes Europe and the US will move to what he's calling a zero-tariff situation.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into some fresh international trade drama. And yes, Elon Musk is back in the headlines, saying something surprisingly rational. So, as you know, Donald Trump has been going all in on his tariff war, slapping fees on imports from the EU, China, and anyone else who looks at him funny. The goal? Reciprocal trade. Whatever that means in Trump-onomics. But what's actually happening is higher costs for American consumers, chaos in the stock markets, and strained relationships with our closest allies. And now Elon Musk, yes, the same guy launching rockets and following Trump everywhere, has called for a zero-tariff zone between the US and Europe,
effectively creating a free trade zone between Europe and North America. His comments came a day after the heavy trade tariffs unleashed by Donald Trump sent global stock markets plummeting. China was quick to retaliate, while others, including the European Union, are still pondering raising tariffs themselves.
So there are a couple of things that might be going on here. So on the one hand, it could be that just at a very basic level, Musk has quickly observed a 40% decline in sales in Tesla in Europe over the last couple of months. But the other thing that this could potentially be is an attempt at readjustment or correction by the Trump administration, in that one of Trump's closest kind of allies and supporters, and someone who's clearly very influential in the administration, is coming out to kind of push back against the recently implemented policies. So I'm thinking, or maybe hopeful is the right word, that this might be a signal that the administration is considering walking back some of those policies.
He says, and I quote, "I hope the United States and Europe can create a very close, stronger partnership, ideally with zero tariffs." You know what? I agree with him on this one. Imagine a world where we actually collaborate with our allies instead of nickel and diming them. A world where trade helps workers, businesses, and consumers, not just fuels political grandstanding. Look, this whole trade war is a mess. Trump's idea of fixing trade is slapping a band-aid on a broken leg. The US can't compete with low-cost countries like Vietnam by throwing tantrums and golf balls. We need innovation, smart investments, and fair, not fake, trade policy. Elon, for once, is saying something that makes sense. Maybe it's time we stop trying to win trade wars and start building trade bridges?
My fellow Singaporeans, I've said before that the world is changing in ways that will disadvantage small open economies like Singapore. Some had previously questioned this assessment, but the recent Liberation Day announcement by the US leaves no room for doubt. It marks a seismic change in the global order. The era of rules-based globalization and free trade is over. We are entering a new phase, one that is more arbitrary, protectionist, and dangerous. For decades, the US was the bedrock for the free market economies of the world. It championed free trade and led efforts to build a multilateral trading system, anchored by clear rules and norms, where countries could achieve win-win benefits through trade. Singapore and many others have long called for reform to update the rules and to make the system better. But what the US is doing now is not reform. It is abandoning the entire system it had created. Its new approach of reciprocal tariffs, country by country, is a complete rejection of the WTO framework.
So I just watched this clip of Singapore's Prime Minister, Lawrence Wong, talking about Trump's new tariffs, and I gotta be honest, it hit me harder than I expected. At first you're like, okay, 10% tariffs. Sure, it sucks, but what's new, right? Trade tension is always a thing. But then Wong starts speaking, and the way he breaks it down, hey, you can tell he's not just talking about money. He's talking about something way bigger. He says this is a seismic shift, like we're watching the end of a world order that's kept things stable for decades. And the scary part? I think he's right. This isn't just Trump being Trump. This is about a mindset that's creeping back into power, where countries stop working together and start acting like everyone else is the enemy. It's protectionism, it's nationalism, it's me first, screw the rest. And you know what happens when countries start thinking like that? They stop talking, they stop trading, and eventually they start fighting. Wong even said it. Trade wars have, in the past, led to world wars. Like, he literally brought up the 1930s, and he's not wrong. The Great Depression, protectionist tariffs, rising nationalism, and then boom, World War II. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes, right? And I'm sitting here thinking, are we seriously walking that same path again? Like, is this what we're doing in 2025? The world is dealing with AI, climate change, inequality, stuff that needs global cooperation. And instead, we're going back to America first, China first, everybody build your own walls. And I get it. Some people are angry. They feel like globalization didn't help them. That's real. But the answer isn't to tear down the whole system. The answer is to fix it together. So when Wong says, prepare for more shocks, I felt that. Because if this keeps going, it's not just going to be about shipping costs or inflation. It's about peace. It's about whether we can still talk to each other before things explode. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I think we should really listen to the leaders who aren't yelling, but warning, calmly, thoughtfully, because those are the ones who've been watching the game long enough to know where it's headed. So yeah, this isn't just Singapore's problem, it's everyone's problem. And if we don't start caring now, we might not get the chance later.
From Atlanta to D.C., Chicago to St. Paul, people gathered across the country today for more than 1,200 separate hands-off rallies that is protesting actions of President Trump and Elon Musk. Here in Minnesota, a rally happened outside the Capitol in St. Paul. Joe McCoy talked with some people that were there about what motivated them to show up.
People are protesting here in Minnesota at the state capitol and across the country as the second Trump term hits its 75th day in office.
We're not going back. We're not going back.
Organizers estimate 14,000 people showed up at the hands-off protest to make their voice heard on everything from tariffs, Elon Musk's role in the government, and Trump's immigration policies.
I think it's important, especially as a woman and a person of color, to show up and stand for our rights.
I'm extremely frustrated, and we have to be the people to make the change.
Can we just talk about what happened yesterday? The hands-off protests across the country? Absolutely massive. In Minnesota alone, 25,000 people showed up at the state capitol. That's the biggest crowd they've had since the Women's March in 2017. And here's the wild part. Not one window smashed. Not one cop assaulted. This was a protest. A real protest. Peaceful, powerful, unified. People showed up from all walks of life. LGBTQ plus activists, civil rights groups, unions, students, parents, even older folks with folding chairs. Everyone came together for one message. Hands off our rights. Hands off our democracy. Hands off our future. They weren't there to burn it all down. They were there to protect what matters. And I'm sitting there scrolling through the footage thinking, this is how you make a statement. Not by storming a building with zip ties and Confederate flags. Not by smashing windows and screaming conspiracy theories. This was bigger than January 6th. Way bigger. But peaceful. Organized. It's more powerful when you're not destroying things because it's not about chaos. It's about clarity. About drawing a line and saying, no. You don't get to take away Social Security. You don't get to gut Medicaid. You don't get to dismantle everything we've built just to make billionaires more powerful. And yeah, Elon Musk's name came up a lot. Because what even is the government right now? Why is a tech bro deciding what's allowed on the internet or what freedom looks like while Trump's throwing gasoline on the fire? This isn't just policy anymore. It's a culture war, a democracy war. And the people at the rally, they know it. I saw signs that said, "My America includes everyone. You work for us, not Musk." And my favorite, we're not going back because we're not. We're not going back to the 1950s. We're not going back to silence. And we're sure as hell not going to stand by while the government becomes a playground for billionaires and power-hungry demagogues. This was a movement, and it's not just about protesting, it's about protecting. So if you're watching all this and feeling helpless or pissed, or just straight up overwhelmed, I feel you. But don't check out, don't tune out. This protest showed something big. We're not alone, we're awake, and we're done being quiet. See you in the next one, friends. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.